Hello and welcome coders to the Sky Coding. So now in this session we will do data sampling in Snowflake and we will do the practical of data sampling basically in this session. And in the previous session we have covered all of the concepts of the data sampling and what are the methods which are available to us for doing the data sampling in Snowflake. We have seen about Bernoulli and system. Okay, so now we will do the practical of data sampling and we will query some of the data from the tables which are stored in the remote disk. Okay, we will do lots of practicals of data sampling. Okay, and we will see how can we do this thing. Okay, so without wasting any time, let's get started. And the link of the previous session, concept session of the data sampling is given in the description box. You can watch that session. Okay, so now let's quickly revise all of the things, all of the concepts of the data sampling. Okay, before moving to the practical, and after that we will do the practical of the data sampling. Okay, so now basically sampling method is optional. Okay, if no method is specified, the default is Bernoulli. As we have discussed this thing in the previous session, that if we will not specify any of the sampling method in the query, then by default it will take Bernoulli or the row, you can say. Okay, so what is Bernoulli or row? We have discussed this thing about in the previous session. Okay, Bernoulli, system block, repeatable seed, and all this. Okay, so Bernoulli, it includes each row with the probability of p by 100, similar to the flipping a weighted coin for each row. Okay, as we all have learned about this probability in our class 10th, 9th and 11th, 12th in the college or in the school. Okay, and we have seen the probability of flipping a coin, probability of throwing a dice and card, and all those things we have learned. Okay, so here while working with the Bernoulli, it will just give you the probability of p by 100 that this row will come to you, this row data will be extracted, and that data will be shown to you. Okay, so the probability of each row is p by 100 only in this Bernoulli or row. And while in the system also, the probability of that each row will be extracted is just a p by 100 only. Okay, but here in the system or block, each block of rows has a probability of p by 100. Okay, here is a very minor difference between this Bernoulli and system. Okay, in the Bernoulli, each row has a probability of extracted by p by 100. Okay, but in the system, each block of rows has a probability of p by 100. Okay, this method does not support fixed size sampling. Okay, suppose that you want to extract some of the fixed rows. Suppose that there is 100 rows in the table and you want to extract only 50 rows from that table. Okay, so you cannot use the system. Okay, you cannot use the system or block, you can use this Bernoulli. Okay, and here each row has a probability for being attached in the sampled data, it is p by 100. Okay, and here each block of rows has a probability of p by 100. Okay, so this is basically the difference between these things. Okay, we have discussed in brief about these in the previous session. Okay, and let's talk about the repeatable and seed. And as we have talked that repeatable or seed is just like an identifier we use for identifying the data. Okay, so whenever you will give any of the seed value for any of the sample data, then whenever you will fire that query again, then you will get the same number of rows again. Okay, so specify a seed value to make the sampling deterministic, and it can be any integer. Okay, so this is basically acting as an identifier. Okay, and we will do the practical, then you will better understand these things. Okay, so the following keywords can be used interchangeably. Okay, you can use sample or you can use table sample. Okay, and you can use the Bernoulli or you can use row, you can use system or you can use block, you can use repeatable or you can use seed. Okay, so the number of rows returned depends on the sampling method specified. Okay, these are the number of sample data, means the number of rows which are available in the sample data will be basically depends on the sampling method which we are using. Okay, so if you will talk about like the diagram wise. Okay, so basically this row and block, that is Bernoulli and block, these two methods comes under the fraction based. Okay, and this is another, that is a fixed base which we use for extracting the data for the fixed number of rows. Okay, so this is, let's talk about the fraction based. Okay, so if no seed is specified, sample generates the different results when the same query is repeated. Okay, if you will not give any of the identifier to that query, means if you are not specifying any of the value of the seed, then you will, whenever you will execute that query again, then you will get the different type of data again and again. Okay, and if a table does not change and the sample and the same seed and probability are specified, sample generates the same result. Okay, suppose that whenever first time you have fired the same query. Okay, here you can see here we are just firing this query, and here system probability of the fraction is 3% and seed value is 82%, 82. Okay, we have given the identifier value as of seed as 82 to this query. Okay, and whenever we will execute this query again, suppose that I have executed this query and I have got some data. Okay, and whenever I will execute this same query again, then we will get the same type of data, same rows which I got earlier. Okay, so basically we use seed for just getting the same data again and again. Okay, so this is basically about this point. And however, sampling on a copy of a table might not return the same result as sampling on the original table even if the same. Okay, so suppose that you have cloned any of the table and you are just querying the data from there, okay, by using the seed. Okay, so there may be some of the differences you can get, but it is not working in the on that copy of the table. Okay, it is not sure about the copy of the table whether you will get the same data. You can get the same data by using the seed identifier, or you can get the different data as well. Okay, but it will definitely work on the main table, that is permanent, transient or temporary tables. Okay, and we have also discussed about permanent, transient and temporary. So if you don't know about these tables, external tables, then there is a link in the description, you can watch that session. Okay, so now row, there is one example for the row. Okay, select asterisk from, this is basically the table name and this is basically the keyword. You can give directly sample, or you can give the table sample. Okay, and we are just giving Bernoulli and we are just giving the value for the 20.3. you can give this value in the decimal as well, or you can give a simple one integer. You can give 20% or you can give 20.3%. okay, so it will just extract the data from the table and it will just give you 20. Each row has a probability of being extracted, means in attached in the sample data is 20.3%. so it is just exacting the 20% records from the table. Okay, suppose that there is a one table and it is having 100 records, so it will get 20 rows from there. Okay, you can see it is return sample of table in which each row has probability of this, okay, being included in the sample. Each row has a probability of 20% being included in the sample. Okay, and for block, select asterisk from test sample system 3 and we are giving the seed value also. We will discuss about seed value. Okay, we will do the practical, then we will better understand this thing. Okay, you can see we will do the practical. Now we are just revising those concept. Okay, return the sample of table in which each block of rows has a 3% of probability being included in the sample, and set the seed value so that whenever we will fire this query again, then we will get the same type of rows data. Okay, you can see we have given the asterisk here each row, each block is having a probability, each block of rows has 3% of probability that that data will be included in the sample. Here each block of rows is having a 3% probability. Here each row has a 20% of probability that row will be included in the sample. Okay, so this is basically the difference between this row and block. Okay, so let's talk about the fixed size. Okay, if the table is larger than the requested number of rows, and whenever you are just firing this fixed size of queries, okay, in the fixed size of queries we are just basically giving the number of rows, that suppose that there are 100 rows, so we are just accepting 10 rows, so we will give just like this with 10 rows. Okay, so if the table is larger than the requested number of rows, the number of requested rows is always returned. Okay, and if the table is smaller than the requested number of rows, the entire table is returned. Okay, suppose that you are just querying here 10 rows. Okay, and if the table is having only 9 rows, okay, so it will just return the 9 rows. Okay, here we are just extracting the 10 rows from the table, and my table is having just a 9 rows. Okay, so it will just return all the data. Okay, and if the table is larger than the requested number, the number of requested rows is always returned. Okay, so suppose that there is there is a 100 rows in the table. Okay, and we are just accepting 10 rows, so it will just give you the 10 rows. Okay, so this is basically about this fixed size. Okay, and this is an example, so it will just give the 10 rows, and here what we are giving, here we are just using this row and 10 rows, and we are just giving the seed number as 99. Okay, so seed is an identifier. Whenever we will fire this query again, then we will get the same data as the earlier query. Okay, so we will do the practical of this thing. Okay, sampling with the seed is not supported on views or subqueries. Okay, as this is an example, whenever you will use this seed with a subquery or you are just getting the sample from the views, then this seed is not supported in the views or the subqueries. Okay, so there are basically these examples. Select asterisk from table name sample row. Okay, so it will just return a sample with 10% of rows. Okay, and here what we are giving, here we are using block, so it will just, each block has a probability that that block will be included in the sample 20%. Okay, and here we are using system 10 and seed 111. So whenever we will fire this query again, then we will get the same data. And this is for table sample, it will return all the data and it will return empty sample. Okay, and 10 rows, it will return the fixed 10 rows. Okay, so now we will just use one schema. Okay, as you can see, I have created this schema sample underscore dt. Okay, you can see sample underscore dt, and I have this table. Okay, and the table which I am going to use in this video, we will just use this custom underscore csv table, and it is having 100 rows. So we will just query the data and sample data from this table, and after that we will use this Snowflake sample data, which is by default in all of our Snowflake account. Okay, you can see Snowflake sample data, and we have lots of data, and this is, you can say, it is a very big data. You can see customer table, and it is having 1.5 million records. You can see all of the nation, orders, parts of region, supplier. Okay, we have all the data. Okay, so we will just take the sample from here as well. Okay, so now what we will do, we will first of all check the data from this customer underscore csv. This is basically a simple table which is having, you can say, it is a small table which is having just 100 rows. Okay, we will just query the data from this table, then we will better understand this thing. Okay, so now let me show you the data from this table first. Okay, so select asterisk from, and my table name is customer underscore csv. Okay, let me show you the data. Okay, you can see we have 100 rows in this table. You can see we have 100 rows. Okay, so now we will just check the data from this table only. We will query the data by using the Bernoulli or row, or by using the system and block. Okay, so let's write here. So what you have to write the query, select asterisk from and table name, and after that you have to write the sample keyword. You can write the sample keyword, or you can write table sample. Okay, so we will just write sample here, sample, and after that you have to write which method you want. Okay, so I want a row method. First of all, I will use Bernoulli. Okay, so I will just type here row, and after that, suppose that there is 100 rows in this our table. Okay, so let me write here. Okay, 100 rows in our this table. Okay, so 100 rows, suppose that I want 10%. Okay, so first of all, I am just doing the fraction type of querying. Okay, so row of 10. Okay, so 10%. Okay, so let's check the data whether it is giving 10 rows or not. Okay, so let's query the data. Okay, can see we got 8 rows. Okay, so it is just giving some approx type of data. You may get 8, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It will get some approx type of data. And let me execute again. You can see now we got 12 rows. Okay, let me execute this again, and we will see we will get some of the different rows. You can see we got 12 rows again, and let me execute this again, and now you can see we got 8 rows. So what it is giving, it is giving rows from 8 to 12. Okay, so this is basically approx data. Okay, so now we will just query the data by using the Bernoulli system, or you can say block. Let me type here block. Okay, and let me execute the same query for block as well. You can see we got 4 rows. Here there is a lots of difference. Okay, you can see 4 rows we are getting. Okay, and let me execute this again, and you can see we got 9 rows. This time we got 11 rows, and you can see we got 12 rows. You can see we got 8 rows. Okay, so there is a very minor difference between this and this. Okay, so here it is just taking the data from 4 to 13. Okay, 4 to 13 it is taking the data. Okay, so what it is doing, it is just in this, while working with the row, each row has a probability of being included in the sample by p by 100%. Okay, and here while working with the system or block, here each block has a there are some of the blocks, micro partitions, which are available where data is being stored. Okay, so here there are some block of rows which will be included in the sample. So each block is having a p by 100. Okay, probability. You can see we are just getting different data. Okay, and suppose that you want the same type of data, so you can just give the seed and then you will execute that query. Okay, so we will discuss that thing as well. Okay, so here what it is showing, here it is very minor difference means you are sometimes getting 8 rows, sometimes 9 rows, sometimes 10, like that. Okay, and here we have more difference in comparison with a row method. Okay, there you cannot understand this difference here because we are just dealing with very small data. Okay, so when this will understandable better when we will deal with the bigger data. Okay, we will deal with the bigger data here. Okay, you can see this is a customer. Okay, sample data. Okay, so now let's understand this thing as well. Okay, so now let's first of all just select the data. Okay, so just check the data, selecting data. That we type here data from sample demo db which are available to us by the Snowflake only. Okay, so we will just fire the query over there. Okay, so let me type select asterisk from, and after that my database name is snowflake underscore sample data. Okay, so this is a snowflake sample data. Okay, so let me copy the name from here. This is snowflake sample data. So this is basically the database name, and schema name is this one. And let me try to copy the schema name from here. This is tpch, and let me copy the schema name. And after the okay, let me remove this colon, and after that let me copy the customer. Okay, so we will be just dealing with this customer table. Okay, let me type the customer here. Okay, so customer table. Okay, so customer. Okay, so let me first of all fetch all of the records here. Okay, so snowflake sample data dot schema name dot customer table. Okay, let me execute this. Okay, and now you will see we will get 1.5 million records. You can see we got all of the records, and from this record these are the records which are shown here. Okay, you can see we got all of the records here, 1.5 million, and the query taken this minute. Okay, so now let's copy this thing, and let's do this thing. Okay, let me copy this and let me paste here. So, okay, so it is having 1.5 million records. Okay, let me paste here. Okay, 1.5 million rows. Okay, so now we will just perform the row and block in this table as well. Okay, so let me copy and let me paste, and now for using the sampling we will just give the sample keyword, and suppose that I want to give row method, so I will just give row, and let me give Bernoulli this time. Okay, and let's check that Bernoulli is working or not. Okay, Bernoulli, and let me give 10. Okay, suppose that I want 10% of the data from this 1.5 million records. Okay, so let me execute this. Okay, and let's see. You can see 10% of the 1.5 million is 1, 10, 100,000, 10,000 lakh, 1.5 lakh. Okay, so we got 1.5 lakh. This is approx the 10% of the data. Okay, we got this thing. Okay, now let's check this thing with the sample method. Okay, that system. Okay, so what we will type here, we will type here system only, system or block you can type. Okay, so let's execute this time. Okay, and now you will see we got 1,38,000 rows. Okay, this is a very big difference here. Okay, you can see here whenever we are dealing with the Bernoulli, it is just giving approx data. It may give one. Let me execute this again. Okay, so let's execute. Okay, you can see we got 1,50,209, and let's execute this again. So again it is giving 1,49, and now this time let's execute, and this time it is given 1,50,000, and let's execute this again. So it is just taking giving 1.49. okay, means 1,49,000. okay, so it is just giving the data 1,49,000, 1,50,000, 1,51. okay, so it will just move like that only. Okay, but whenever we are just querying the data by the system method, and let's check the data in the system. Okay, let me execute. You can see we got 1,26,000 only, but we want to get the data for we are expecting 1,50,000 rows, but it is just giving 1,26,000. okay, let me check. Now this time it given 1,39 and 1,41, and you can see 1,60,000. so it is giving the data with a lots of difference. You can see it is given 1,68,000. okay, because it is just dealing with each block. So while working with the system or block, each block has a probability to be included in the data by p by 100%. okay, so here p by 100. okay, because there is a, I have written here, while working with the Bernoulli or row, there is a very minor difference. okay, suppose that you are just expecting 1,50,000 rows here. okay, so it may give 1,49,000, 1,48,000, or it may give 1,51,000, 1,52,000. okay, but whenever you will fetch the data by using the system or block, then you will get a lots of difference. You can see we got 1,38,000 only, and it is just moving to the 1,68,000 rows. so it is having a lots of difference, which means whatever data you are fetching, it will just not give that much data. okay, it is just making the lots of difference. okay, you can see while working with the system, okay, in comparison with this. okay, so this is basically about this thing. okay, so now let's check about this thing Bernoulli row, and we will create a one table as well. So suppose that this is the data which I have queried. okay, and I want to store this data into any another table. okay, so how to do that thing? okay, so we will just discuss that thing as well. okay, so let's copy this query from here, and let's paste here. Okay, in the Bernoulli row we will just create a table by this sampling data. By first of all we will do by Bernoulli row, and after that we will do for system, and after that we will do the fixed sampling, and after that we will see the seed working. Okay, that whenever we are giving any of the identifier as seed, then whether we are just executing that query again, whether we are getting the same data or not. Okay, we will see that thing. Okay, so now suppose that this is the data which I want, and let me use here only sample. Okay, let me use here only sample. Okay, and without specifying any of the keyword. And I have told you, if you will not specify any of the sampling method, row or block, then by default row will be taken. Okay, so let's check that thing. Okay, so suppose that you want to create the table from this data, so you can just give this thing, create or replace, this syntax, create or replace table, and let me give the table name as customer underscore one. Okay, so this all the tables will be created on this sample dt. Okay, so let's execute this. Okay, and let's check this thing. Okay, what it is. Okay, we haven't given there. Okay, so let me first of all check this thing. Okay, so let me create the table. What it is saying, unexpected select. Okay, sorry guys, we have to write the as keyword as well. Okay, I forgot to write as keyword. Okay, so let me execute this one. Okay, so you can see table customer underscore one is now successfully created, and you can see customer underscore one, and it has 1,49,000 records. Okay, as we are just querying the data, let me query the data. Okay, and you can see we got 1,49,000. Okay, and whenever I am executing this again, and let's check the data again. Okay, so you can see if this time we got 1,49,000. So there is a very minor difference between these things. Okay, so now we will just try this thing with the row keyword. Okay, so let's try this thing with the sample row keyword. Okay, as I have discussed that if you will not specify any of the sampling method, then by default row will be taken. Okay, so let me create this table, and this time also we want the 10% of the data, and we are just specifying this keyword. Okay, so now let's check the data. Okay, and let's create the customer underscore two table. Okay, and you can see this is a customer underscore two table, and here we are just getting 1,49,000 something data here also. Okay, let me type here. Okay, 1,40,000. Let me execute this, and let's check the data. Okay, so let me execute, and let me copy these rows as well. Okay, then we will understand better this thing, then we will compare this row method with the block method. Okay, so let me execute this method as well, and let's check the data. How much data we are getting here. We are just getting this much rows. Okay, so it is just approx 1,50,000. Okay, so let me type here. Okay, so this is basically these rows which we are getting. This is basically approx data which I am getting by using this sample method, by using this row sample method. Okay, so now let's check the data. We can just check by counting, select count, and let me type one from, and let me count from here. Okay, this is customer table. Okay, so from here, and let's check the data, how much data we are having in this table. You can see we have 1 lakh. You can see here this is 1.5 million records, all of the records which I am having in the table. Okay, so let me type here. Okay, and let's check the data from the customer with these tables which I have created from this data, this table customer underscore one, customer underscore two. Okay, select asterisk from customer underscore one. Okay, customer underscore one. Okay, and let me type for customer underscore two as well. Okay, so let me type here for customer underscore two, and now what we will do, we will give here count, select count one from this table, and from here as well. Okay, select count one from this table. Okay, so now let's execute for customer underscore one. Okay, in the customer underscore one we got 1,49,000. Okay, so let me copy this. Why it is not copying? Okay, let me copy this and let me paste here. Okay, we will just compare these things. Okay, and for the customer underscore two table, how much data we got this much of data. Okay, so this is basically the approx data of the 10% of this data we got. Okay, you can see this is full record we are having in the table, and we have just queries 10%. So this is basically approx the 10% of this data, and this is basically the 10% of this data. And in this customer underscore one, you can see we haven't given any of the method, so it is just taking the row method, and in the customer underscore two we have given row method. Okay, so this is the method for Bernoulli, or you can say row, and how can you just extract the data data for your sampling, for the analysis purpose, or for the testing purpose. Okay, so this is all about this Bernoulli or row method, and you can see we are just getting approx data. Okay, and now we will just do these things only for the system or block, then we will just compare these things. Okay, so now let's check about this system or block method. Okay, so now let's copy all these query, because we will be just using all these queries only while working with the system. Okay, instead of writing this again and again, let's check the difference, that what is the difference we are getting by row or the block method. Okay, so we will just create a one table by customer_3, and here we will create a one table by customer_4. Okay, so now let's execute this, and let's remove these rows from here, and let's remove these rows first, and now let's execute this. First of all, select query, and let's see. Okay, we have to just specify the block method as well, because we are just dealing with the block method. Okay, by default that Bernoulli or row will be used. Okay, as we have discussed this. Okay, so now let's check the data by using the block method. Okay, and let's check the data. Okay, you can see we are getting this 1,36,000 rows. Okay, but we are just expecting 1,50,000 or 1 lakh. Let me type here expect. Okay, what we are expecting. Okay, we are just expecting 1,50,000, or it may vary from 1,49,000, or it may 1,51,000. Okay, so this is our expectation, but we are just getting less data while working with the block. Okay, and now let's type here block as well. And now what we will do, first of all, let me create this table customer_3. Okay, you can see customer_3 table is now successfully created, and now let me give the seed value as well. Okay, so let me give the seed value as let me give 5. Okay, so it is basically the identifier which I have discussed. Okay, so now let's execute this, and let's check the data. Okay, and let's check the data here. Okay, you can see we got 1,51,000 this time. Okay, and whenever we will execute this query again and again, then we will just get 1,51,000 records only this time. Okay, you can see 1,51,000. Okay, and let me execute this again. Okay, and let's check the data, what data we are getting. Okay, you can see this time we all, okay, let me execute. Okay, it has created one table, this table. Okay, so now let's check this one, this much. Okay, and you will see 1,51,500 rows we got, and whenever we will execute this query, then we will get the same number of rows. You can see we are just getting 1,51,500 whenever we will execute this same query with the seed value 5. Okay, and you can see we got 1,51,500. Okay, you can see we are getting whenever you will execute this query, and whenever you will let me remove this, and let's check the data, how much data we are getting. Okay, so this time we will get some different data. Okay, this data is being inserted in the table as well, because we are not selecting. Okay, you can see this time we got 1,65,000, and let's execute this again, and let's check the data, and you can see this time we are getting 1,86,000. Okay, so this is the basic difference. Whenever you will give the seed value, then you will get the same number of rows. Okay, and let me give the seed value as 5. Okay, as I think 5 I have given. Okay, so let's check the data by using the seed value 5. Okay, and let's check. You can see we got 1,51,500, and we have seen this thing earlier we are using seed 5 value as identifier. Okay, and whenever we are just dealing with the seed 5 again, then we are just getting the same number of rows. Okay, so this is basically difference. Okay, so in the table we are just having 1.5 million records, and now let's check the data in the customer_3 and customer_4. In the customer_3 we will be just having this much of records. Okay, so let me type here. And in the customer_4, let's first of all check the data for customer_3. Okay, you can see we have this much of data. Okay, we have executed this again. Okay, that's why it is taking the difference. Okay, so let's check the data. You can see we have this data 1,60,000 in this. Okay, let's execute this, and let's check. Okay, because we have just selected this data, then we got this data, and after that we have created the table, then we have inserted some different number of rows. Okay, so now let's check the data in the customer_4 table. You can see we got 1,60,500. Okay, the same data of this one. Okay, why? Because we have inserted this record with the seed value. Okay, that's why in these tables 3 and 4 we are getting the same number of rows. Okay, we have given the seed value here, and we have executed this. Okay, and after that we have created this table. That's why in these two tables we are having the same number of records. Okay, So this is basically about the system or block method. Okay, how can you use the system or block? Okay, and if you compare these things, then you can say it is you can say we are just getting here approx the same data. My expectation is 1,50,000, and we can see we are just getting approx data 1,49, 1,49,747, 1,49,782. We are just getting approx data to 1,50,000. Okay, 10% of 1.5 million. Okay, but here we are getting 1,36,000, 1,86, 1,60, 1,60 like that. Okay, so this is basically the bigger difference while comparison with the row method. Okay, so because it is just dealing with the each block. Okay, but it is dealing with the each row has a probability of 10 here p by 100, and each block is having a probability of p by 100. Okay, so this is all about the row and block method. Okay, so now let's check the data, that how can we do the sampling by fixed sampling. Okay, so let's check. Okay, so what we will do, let me copy this thing only, because we will be just dealing with this table only, and here we will just give the fixed number of rows. Okay, so let me give the name as customer underscore 5, and this time what we will give, we will use the row method, or you can just leave as it is, because by default row will be taken. And let me type here 1,000 rows. Okay, 1,000 rows. Okay, so now we will just get 1,000 rows only. Okay, so now let's check the data first. Okay, so let's check. Okay, you can see we got 1,000 rows. Okay, and whenever we will execute this again, then also we will get 1,000 rows, because we are just giving the number of rows, that I want 1,000 rows, so it is just extracting the 1,000 rows from 1.5 million. Okay, and let me give 2,000, so it will just execute the extract the 2,000. Okay, you can see we got 2,000 this time, and whenever you will execute this again, then you will get 2,000. Okay, so this is basic difference. Okay, by using the fixed sampling or fraction sampling. Okay, so let's create a table customer underscore 5. Okay, and you can see table is now created, and now let's check the data customer underscore 5 table, and you can see we got 2,000 rows, because we have given here that I want 2,000 rows. Okay, now let's paste here 2,000 rows we got this time. Okay, you can see this is a sample of 2,000 rows we have given, so we got 2,000 rows. Okay, so this is basically about the fixed sampling. Suppose that you want 10 row 20 rows, so you can just give like this way, 10 row 20 row like this way, then you will get the same type of rows from the table, from the production environment table. And let's refresh and let's check the data, that how much table we have. Customer underscore 2 1 2, this is for Bernoulli or row method, 3 4 is for block or system method, and 5 is for customer underscore 5 is for fixed sampling. Okay, so this is about fixed sampling, fraction sampling, and in the fraction sampling this is about a row, and this is about block. Okay, so now let's verify that, check the seed is same or not. That how can you check that seed is giving our same value or not. Okay, so for this what you can do is you can do the minus type of thing. Okay, so let's copy this thing and let's see. Okay, so where I have given here. Okay, so let's copy this thing and let's paste here. Okay, create or replace table customer underscore 3 customer underscore 4. Okay, this is a table which I have used. Okay, so here what I have used seed here, seed 5. Okay, so what you can do is you can just do the minus. Okay, select asterisk from customer, and let me write here. Okay, customer underscore 3, and what you can do, you can write here minus keyword. Okay, so we will just minus, and this is our another table block. And here what we are giving, let me give here seed as well. Okay, seed 5. Okay, so block, and let me give seed 5, and let me remove one semicolon from here. So now let me type here select query, select asterisk from this table, select asterisk from, and let me remove this table keyword from customer underscore 3. Okay, and here as well. Okay, so let me copy this and let me paste here. You can use this minus keyword for just checking that whether our seed is extracting the same records or not. Okay, so let's check here. Okay, so here what we have done, we have just created this customer underscore 4 table by using this seed 5 keyword. Okay, and you can see we have the same data in this customer underscore 3 table, 1,60,500, and the customer underscore 4 table. Okay, suppose that you want to verify, so how can you verify? Okay, so you can just execute this minus. Okay, so it will just minus this much this data from this customer underscore 3 table from this sample table, means this is basically a production table you can call, and we are just giving the seed keyword. Okay, so let's create this. Okay, and let's check. Okay, if you will get, you can see we have a difference for 1,45,500. It is showing the difference. Okay, if it is showing the difference, then it is that your seed is not giving the same number of rows. Okay, so let's paste here. Okay, 1,45,500 45,000 we are getting. Okay, so it is not same. Okay, it's not same. So if it is giving some type of rows, then it is obvious that your seed is not working. Why it is not working in this customer underscore 3 table? Because we haven't given seed value here. Okay, you can see here we have just inserted the record into this table customer underscore 3 without specifying the seed value. Okay, you can see, and in the customer underscore 4 table we have given the seed value. Okay, so now let's check the data in the customer underscore 4 table. Okay, and you can see we will get zero difference here. Okay, we will get 0 rows. If you are getting 0 rows, then it's obvious that data is same. Okay, and let's check. Okay, what it is showing. Okay, let me remove this as keyword. Okay, let me remove this as keyword, and now let's execute this. Okay, what it is showing again. Okay, we have to type this minus as well. Okay, minus keyword. Okay, and you can see guys, we got zero rows here. Okay, if we are getting 0 rows here, it means that we don't have any of the difference and our seed is working. Okay, so you can see, let me type here 0 rows. Okay, 0, and let me remove this 0 rows, and you can see we got the same data. Okay, so if it is 0 rows, so what is the meaning of 0 rows? Means same data. Okay, same data. Okay, because our that seed is working. Okay, but here let me check from here as well, and let me remove the seed keyword. Okay, because we haven't given seed keyword for this table. Okay, so let's check. Okay, here we are getting the difference. Okay, so let's check that thing. Okay, you can see we got 1,27,000, and this time we will get some. Okay, so here we are getting the difference. Okay, so if you are getting the difference, it means you haven't specified the seed value and you are just getting the difference like by that way. Okay, and here we have just given the seed value 5, so we will get no difference. Okay, you can see whether you will execute this 100 times, then you will get 0 rows here. Okay, because we have specified the seed value here. You can see we have specified the seed value, and here we haven't specified the seed value. Okay, so here in this table we have some different data, but it is just executing this query again. Whenever I were executing this query again and again, then we are getting some different type of data again and again. Okay, again we are getting some different type of rows, different number of rows. Okay, but here we have given the seed 5, so we will just get same number of data. Okay, whether I am executing this query today, tomorrow, or any day. Okay, so this is basically the identifier which I am just giving. Okay, so this is all about that how can you check if your seed is working or not. Okay, so now let's quickly revise all those things. So that's all about this practical session. Now let me just quickly revise all those things. Okay, so Bernoulli or system and these all the things. Okay, you can use any of the keyword: sample, table, sample, Bernoulli, system, repeat, or you can use these things: table, sample, row, block, or seed. Okay, and this is for fraction based. In the fraction based, we have these two methods, row and block. In the row, each row has a probability of being included in the sample, and in the block, each block of rows has a probability to be included in the sample. And in the fixed size, you can just get the number of rows. Suppose that you want 10 rows, so you can just write 10 rows. Okay, and these are the examples, and you can see we have fetched these queries. Okay, and here while working with the row, we are just getting a very minor difference. Okay, but in the block we are getting lots of difference. Okay, you can see here we are just getting 1,50,506. Okay, 14978, but our expectation is 150. So it is just giving you some approx data, but here while working with the system or block, it is just sometimes giving very less data, sometimes giving very very big data, means which is I'm not expecting. Okay, so this is basically the difference between system and block. And whenever you will give the seed value same, then it will just give you the same data. Okay, means same number of rows which you are getting earlier, you will get the same data as well. Okay, so now let's execute this again. Okay, and let's check the data. You can see we got 1,51,500. Okay, so now let's paste here. Okay, 1,51,000. Okay, and whenever I will execute this again, then we will get the same data only. You can see we are getting the same data, 1,51,500. Okay, and whenever I will execute this again, and you can see 1,51,000. Okay, so we are getting the same data. Okay, so that's the work of seed, and this is about fixed sampling, and this is by the minus. You can check that you are getting the same data or not. Okay, whether your seed is working or not. Okay, so that's all about the data sampling, and if you face any type of doubt, then you can ask me. And that's all for today's session, and from the next session we will be just discussing maybe stored procedure, JSON object construct, we have done JSON object construct, JSON internal loading, JSON external, and these all the things we have done. And from the next session we will do the data masking or the stored procedure or the regular expression. Okay, so that's all for today. Bye, take care of yourself guys. Okay.